Henry Dance and the Savage Tango, Chapter 1. 3 days before the start of the January 2003 term, Henry gazed up at the family portrait filling one whole side of the grand hall. Really puts you in your place, doesn't it, Henry? Inherited wealth always leaves me feeling like an outsider, Dame Judith. Fitzgerald's school was built by old money. It is old money that sends us its sons and daughters. Old money is reliable. She held out her hand and smiled warmly. It's good to see you again, Henry, under happier circumstances this time. Come into my study. Would you like tea? No, thank you, but I would like a coffee. Ooh, bit picky for a temporary teacher, aren't we? I only like coffee, Dame Judith. Oh, just Judith, please. The Dame part is for open days and marketing brochures. Henry followed her into the study and paused for a moment to take it in. He thought he could guess the character of a musician from the first 4 bars they played, and a school head from the first few seconds in their study. His new headmistress was on the phone ordering drinks, and he scanned the walls. The obligatory picture of the Queen was joined by paintings from her pupils. This was a head secure enough in herself not to need an ego boost every time she walked into her study. Or, at least, she had spent many hours arranging it in order to give that impression. He hoped she hadn't. She motioned for him to sit down on one of the 2 sofas. How was your drive, Henry? Did you find us all right? Oh, I didn't realise Norfolk was so large. I got lost several times. You should get one of those satellite navigation devices. Our head of ICT has just bought one and says it's the future. There was a knock and the door was opened, a tray of tea and coffee brought in. Sipping her tea, the headmistress waited until the door closed again. Now, Henry, I have good news and bad news. He raised an eyebrow, steeling himself from the news that he'd be teaching Year 8 physics, GCSE history, lower school art, and filling in as assistant coach to the under-15 rugby team. The good news is that we've made some timetable changes, so you will be teaching philosophy and ethics, which I understand is your first subject. Well, I've taught most of the humanities, even a few of the sciences. Indeed, but at Fitzgerald's we value continuity. Now for the bad news. The Department for Education is introducing a new initiative. In fact, I had something to do with the details myself. I thought independent schools were outside of government curriculum schemes. Good heavens, of course we are. No, this isn't about teaching, Henry. You remember that awful case of the pupil abducted early last year? Taken by a schoolteacher, I think. Yes, indeed. It affected us badly here. We're only in the next county. The week that he was missing, the chaplain and I met every morning to pray for him. By the end, all of the school were joining us in chapel. When we announced that the boy had been found safe and well, the staff and pupils stood and cheered. It was profoundly moving. I remember the news reports when they discovered the teacher was known to the police as a previous offender. He took a deep breath. It didn't matter that they found the pupil unharmed. The staff where I was working would have formed a mob to hand out some old-fashioned justice. Quite so, Henry. I wonder sometimes if our precious liberal democracy has become something of a stick with which people like that man beat us. I'm not following you, Judith. How does this have anything to do with me? We have started a new millennium, and our government has decided to introduce a scheme to prevent such a thing ever happening again. They're going to insist on a lie detector for school interview candidates, Judith. A delightful concept, Henry. I wonder how you would fare. What do you mean? For example, if I was to ask you what the truth was about your time at Chapman School. Surely you know the whole story from my last headmaster. Gerald Carmichael Brown has not knowingly told the whole story about anything for many years. I employed you, Henry, because I needed a teacher at short notice, and on the one occasion I met you, I found you to be clever, compassionate, and very discreet. Unusually discreet for a teacher. Discretion is a quality I value very highly indeed. Thank you, Judith. You may not be so grateful when you discover what your role is going to be here. From next year, we have to ensure that all new appointments are given something called a criminal records check. It will, in theory, identify those with a conviction. In addition, for schools, it will also identify those about whom the police have intelligence that never made it to the courts. That won't identify those who intend to harm children. No, but it will at least weed out those who are known to have behaved suspiciously. Again, Judith, what has this got to do with me? As I mentioned earlier, I had something to do with the legislation. I was lead advisor for independent schools, in fact. We will implement the change for new staff from September this year. So? Our school, however, well, I've volunteered us to be something of a guinea pig. Alongside 2 state schools, we've offered to check all of our existing staff. A check requiring considerable extra detail and involving an enhanced level of disclosure by the police. Oh, dear God. You have something to hide, Henry? What? Me? No, nothing like that. It's just... Oh, come on, headmistress. You know what independent school teachers are like. Suddenly I'm headmistress and not Judith. And yes, I do know what they're like. They are fiercely independent. And you want me to check them all? To get their details from the bursary and send them to the police? I wish it were that simple, Henry. No, in the case of the 3 test schools, each teacher must apply individually. Their forms filled out in the presence of a nominated person and checked for accuracy, particularly the additional personal details. Oh, no, not likely. Henry stood and walked to the window. You can't make me do that. They'll hate me. They'll despise me. You are being melodramatic, Henry. Perhaps there will be a little resentment, a feeling that they have been singled out and cannot be trusted. But you are perfect for the job. You know how they think and how they will react. At the same time, you are an outsider. So it doesn't matter if they hate me. Do sit down. He walked over and collapsed on the sofa. I chose you because in a difficult position at that funeral, you behaved impeccably, and I am aware that this is something of a poisoned chalice, so I'm prepared to sweeten the deal. Henry, since he was already caught, gave a deep sigh. I am prepared to offer you a study office here in Main School, as we charmingly call this building. You will have a reduced timetable, and for the duration of this project, you'll be an associate member of our school management team. Henry looked up. You have experience in senior management, don't you? Yes. That's settled then. 36 hours experience to be exact, Dame Judith. I know. I know you know, headmistress. I know you know everything about me because you have probably telephoned my last couple of headmasters. The last 5, actually. Is that usual? Don't be flattered, Henry. You're forgetting my suspicions about the manner of your departure from Chapman's school. I needed to make sure that you were a safe pair of hands. And they said I was. In the spirit of full disclosure, I should tell you that 2 of them couldn't remember you. 2 said you were inadequate at best. And then your last headmaster? Let's just say I wouldn't trust the veracity of any statement he made. So I went with my instincts and brought you here. Now, charming as this discussion is, Henry, you need to settle into your accommodation, and I have prospective parents to meet. Is it much of a task, finding new pupils? Not in the least. The family waiting to see me are 5th generation. We will shape and mould this young lady, and in time she will send her children here with fond tales of life at Fitzgerald's. Don't forget, Henry, we prize continuity here. Hence the painting outside your study. Exactly. Sir Arthur Fitzgerald founded this school nearly 200 years ago, and we are merely custodians. Now, if that is all, I need to... Sorry, there is a favour I need to ask you, Judith. You have a study, a reduced timetable, a place on SMT. Would you like Tuesdays off as well? No, it's just my parents, you see. Are they unwell? Far from it, both in ridiculously good health. No, it's their golden wedding anniversary in a couple of weeks, and they wanted myself and my brother to join them. It would mean missing lessons on the Saturday morning. You really ought to ask the deputy head about matters like that. You will be reporting to her, Henry. She manages the senior team. You will find her interesting, something of a force of nature. You misunderstand me, Judith. I'd like you to refuse permission. My brother is difficult, and my parents, well, they sort of just live, if you know what I mean. Then I take it back. There is no need to talk to our deputy head. I grant you permission to go. But I don't want to go. Family, Henry. You only get one of them. I did not perhaps always value mine, so this is a penance on my behalf. And now off with you. You must master your brief quickly. She stood up and held out her hand. Welcome to Fitzgerald School, Henry Dance. I hope your time with us is enjoyable, and more importantly, uneventful. That was the first chapter of Henry Dance and the Savage Tango, available on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited and eBay Books, and direct from the author as well, with the details on the screen. It's been a pleasure to read the first chapter to you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the story.